Hey guys, so I had a subscriber request for me to do a battle video on black eyeshadows. I mentioned in several videos now that it bothers me whenever these palettes include a black shadow because I just feel like every single palette does nowadays. And so now I just have like black eyeshadow coming out my ears. I have so many of them and I just don't think they're all that great. So I thought this would be a cool topic as well to just kind of compare the different shadows and tell you which one I think is actually worth maybe buying as an individual or buying the palette that has the best black shadow. So I have Urban Decay's Max, Wet n Wild, Sleek, and Sonia Kashuk to compare. I do not have Makeup Forever, so if you do own the matte black shadow from Makeup Forever, I would be curious to hear your thoughts on it, or leave it in the comments below so that other people kind of know how that one compares. Not all of these are matte. Some of them are. Some of them have shimmer and they're more of like a sparkly finish to them, but without further ado, I'm just going to show you which ones I have. So first up, I mentioned a while ago, I feel like this one from MAC, which is Carbon, used to kind of be like the end-all be-all. Everybody would talk about this matte black shadow when referring to a black shadow in general. So that is what that looks like. And as you can see, it comes off pretty chalky. It's not real creamy at all. It's a matte shadow, so it's obviously a little drying almost. As you can see, I've done this is my 4th swipe, and it still just comes off a little chalky. So what I used to think was the holy grail of black shadows is no longer how I feel about that. So that one is that. Then this one is Wet n Wild's Trashed, which is actually a dupe for NARS Nightbreed, which I used to have in my collection, but I've since gotten rid of it. And actually, I think I either sold it in a blog sale or gave it to one of my friends, because when I bought this one, I compared them and they were miles apart. Like the Wet n Wild absolutely blew NARS away, and the Wet n Wild was like 99 cents. And you can see it does have this silver sparkle. I will say when you use this, you get more of the silver sparkle, whereas with the NARS Nightbreed, the sparkle kind of blends away. Like even there's just a good comparison. This one was MAC, this is Wet n Wild. The Wet n Wild, even though it's not matte, it still is creamier than the MAC one. And Wet n Wild also has a matte black one, single shadow as well, if you're interested. Breaking out my makeup wipes before this stuff gets everywhere. Next up is Urban Decay. So this one that I have in the Alice in Wonderland palette is called Jabberwocky, which looks a lot like the Wet n Wild's Trashed. However, this was just named Jabberwocky for this palette. Dogs are downstairs. The actual color name for this is Oil Slick, which is a permanent color from Urban Decay. So this one is much more gritty feeling, not as creamy. Not as glittery, silvery glitter as Wet n Wild Trashed, and it's a little bit more on the chalky side, whereas Wet n Wild's was a little bit creamier. Okay, sticking with Urban Decay, we have Creep, which is in the Naked palette, the original Naked palette. And this one really isn't a true black. This is more of like a charcoal black. As you can see, it looks more black actually in the pan than it does when you swatch it. It's actually more of a gray. And then in the Naked 2 palette, we have Blackout, which is way more of a darker black than the one in the original Naked palette. And Blackout is a matte. I'm going to put it next to Carbon. So this is Blackout, that's matte Carbon, and you can already just see the difference. So much more dark black, and it's creamier. It doesn't come off chalky. It doesn't skip when you swatch it. It's much more of a nice, true black. If I were to use it for a smoky eye or wanted a black color to set my liquid liner or pencil liner, that's probably the one that I would reach for. Okay, another one from Wet n Wild. I recently picked this one up. This was in the Nude Awakening palette, which is a limited edition palette from Wet n Wild. I love this palette. There's actually very similar colors in here to the original Naked palette from Urban Decay, but I'm going to just swatch this dark color here. They don't have individual names, but again, this one has some silver shimmers in it. definitely not as opaque. It's this one here. Not as opaque, not as dark black as Wet n Wild Trashed. Again, this is the Wet n Wild from the Nude Awakening palette. A little bit lighter than Trashed. A little bit, the glitter in it is a lot finer as well. Okay, next up we have the Sleek Storm palette, which is very popular amongst YouTube. And this one is, again, a matte black. It's right here. Very, very fine. It's very similar, actually, to the Nude Awakening black. It's crazy because it looks so dark and opaque in the palette, but really once you swatch it, it comes off much more gray right here than black. And then I also have this Sleek palette called Oh So Special. Again, and let me just hold it up to the Storm palette. This is the Oh So Special palette, and this is the Storm palette. The Oh So Special black on top is darker in the pan than the one in the Storm palette, so let's see if that swatch is true. Yeah. So this is the one in the Oh So Special palette. This is the one in Storm. It is darker. It's a little bit more opaque, not as gray. This is more of a true black. So if you're looking for sleek, a black in one of the Sleek palettes, I think the black that you get in the Oh So Special palette is much better than the one in the Storm palette, unfortunately, because I think the Storm palette is more popular as far as like all the other colors go, so that's kind of a bummer. Okay, the last one I have to show you is from the Sonia Kashuk All Eyes on Neutral palette, and it's this black right here. It again is a matte, just like every other color in this palette. And here we get a nice, solid, true matte black. Again, comparing it to Max Carbon, which is right here, what a difference. Like I said, I just used to think Matte Carbon was like the greatest black ever. And now it's probably the last black I would reach for if I wanted one. So those are all of the black eyeshadows that I own in my entire collection. The only one that's missing that you're probably wondering about is Crave, which was in the Urban Decay Basics palette. You guys saw that if you haven't seen it, I did a review on that entire palette, which I will link in the description box below, where you can actually see a swatch of Crave, which is also a matte black. After I picked up the Sonia Kashuk palette, and you guys know from my review I wasn't overly thrilled with that palette, I ended up giving it to my mom because I just couldn't justify keeping it. I just really didn't like it, and I didn't think it really added any necessity to my collection. So I actually, like I said, gave it to my mom, so I didn't have it to show you Crave, but you can look up swatches of Crave online and see how they compare. As far as the one that I like the best that I'm actually going to be giving away, I am going to give away Urban Decay Blackout, which is this color right here. It's Urban Decay Blackout. I just feel like out of all the blacks that I swatched, this one is the creamiest, the most opaque, darkest black, the most pigmented, and the best black to have. So again, for these battle videos, all you need to do to enter to win is be a subscriber. I will randomly pick a subscriber in a couple of weeks from my subscription box and send you out a brand new individual eyeshadow of Urban Decay Blackout. So that is that. I hope that this video helped you guys in comparing and contrasting some of the blacks that are probably, the black shadows that probably a lot of you guys already have in your collection, or maybe you were looking at some of these palettes wondering like if these colors were worth it. Hopefully this will kind of help you. Like I said, I find it absolutely insane that every palette nowadays seems like it puts a black shadow in there, and it's like, I mean, really, how many of these do I need? I would be happy with one. So I hope that this video helped you guys in some way and you found it useful. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.